How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Candle a Knowledge Redux. If this is your first time watching this video here, my name is Jarvis Smith, and Candle Knowledge is about the life and lessons of my parents in the wake of the deaths and the lessons they taught me along the way, and how I'm using them to navigate my life throughout my years and pass it on to the future, like my nephew and stuff. If you enjoy this stuff, go ahead and continue to like it, share it, subscribe to it, pass it along to people that you might think are interested in this type of content as well. If you don't like it, oh well, you don't have to stay. No, man, I hope everyone's doing well. I just like to say this, I'm having fun doing this, man. This is something different for me. I'm coming from the audio only podcast stuff. So now stepping into video, it's been a vibe. It's been good. It's been dope, man. So, just going to continue to do the vibes, man, and just continue to experience different things around here. People should know by now. I like to keep it kind of cozy in my apartment overall, even though it might be kind of hot out here in California. I still do my thing when I do these recordings. It's like super late at night at this time too. So it's kind of vibey right now. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. So it's not super late, but it's definitely late. It's late somewhere. Like the East Coast is probably like what, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning right now, right? 3 hours ahead. All right. So still, nevertheless, I want to talk about this week balance. There's a lot of conversations about work-life balance and how do we find that balance and stuff like that. I think for me, the balance for me is not just work and life, right? Professional, personal stuff. It's also creative. That's my triangle of life and how important that is to have all three things operating to kind of keep me operating as well. Obviously, when it comes to the professional side of things, it's simple, man. If you're not working, not doing your thing, providing for yourself, there's not too much you can have here in the good old United States of America or even throughout this entire world. So, professional life, just keeping some steady work going for yourself on that sense to satisfy that. On a personal life is just things in your personal life that you're interested in and stuff like that. That's I include family, friendships and stuff like that. And that's kind of where all those things live at. Now, some people might put in hobbies and stuff like that in there too, obviously, and just personal interests, whatever they may be. That's another good thing. But I kind of break that out completely and I put creativity because creativity is not just a hobby. It's also part of the identity for me. That's like my identity right there, right? That right there, having a way to express myself, that creative expression is very important to me. And I got to have that involved with all three other things. So, how it works for me, man, it's like if I'm doing my thing on the work front, right, killing it in my professional sense, that's dope. That's great. And I got personal things going. I'm keeping in contact with my people, my inner circle, my close people there. That's dope as well. But if I'm not like doing something creative, I might feel like I'm missing something along the way, right? I'm gonna be like, it's just something creative got to be happening. It can be a small, like organizing a chart of some projects that I've been thinking about, coming up with some ideas, brainstorming some ideas for some projects, having like just some random creative writing sessions, just writing out random phrases and words and stuff like that. Though I don't rap anymore, I still might have like random lyrics or song titles that just come to me. That's part of the creativity. Also, the creativity is just absorbing, personal interests of mine that I think are really dope that inspire me creatively. So that could be a good book, a film. I put gaming, video games in that category too, because these games these days, come on now, these games are very cinematic. They are dope. And I can watch like straight up, just go on YouTube and just watch the cutscenes and like those super cut videos. Shout out to Gamers Little Playground. That stuff is like art and entertainment to me, but at the same time, there's a creative element that inspires me creatively. So all those different things is kind of where my brain goes. And then, graphic novels and all this other stuff like that. There's so much out there for real that just inspires me on that creative front. So when I have that going, I feel satisfied. But vice versa, if maybe something in my personal life isn't working out, maybe there's a certain situation with maybe a health concern or maybe just a disagreement with somebody or something like that, then, for me, yeah, I think that going not to the work, but back to the creativity helps me out at the same time to kind of stay balanced a little bit. But vice versa, if the work isn't coming out well, maybe you didn't get a promotion you wanted, or you didn't get the opportunity you wanted. You were going for a job, you didn't get that. You got let go from a situation. Things like that are happening out here. Then, for me, it goes back to the creativity. If I could give it a percentage, and I never really thought about this, man. If I break it down into a percentage, right? Like the triangle of for me, and like what percentage do you allocate the most? That's the most critical to me. Oh man, for sure. 50% is definitely about creativity for me, for sure. Because there's not a single day that I go by and I'm not thinking of something creative. Absolutely not. 50% of my identity, my balance comes from creativity. Absolutely. Right. So we're talking about 100% here out of this triangle of three. So now out of the other 50%, where does that go? I think it would go probably 20%, 30% or so, I would say, towards my personal life. Absolutely. Let's say 30%. 30% towards my personal life, 20% towards the career. And when I say that, it doesn't mean that I am less motivated by my career or anything like that. I think the biggest thing I can say about the professional world that I've learned at this age that I'm at is that, and I mean this with great respect, it's like these entities and organizations, they are part of, how we operate to live and stuff like that. But I have to always be mindful that, there's certain things I can't control about what's happening. Not saying I'm trying to control things in the world, but I just can't control what happens with these organizations. These organizations will do and operate what's best for them. And there are certain decisions that get made that don't always support the direction you're trying to go with your career, right? It's just how it is. If a company says, hey, we gotta, relocate to a different location, that's just how it is. If a company says, hey, we gotta reduce headcount at this in this area, that's just what it is. If a company says, hey, we're no longer gonna produce this item, we're gonna produce this item, that's just kind of what it is. So it's like you can't really do anything about that if it's not, especially if it's not your organization. So if I started my own business, it'd be a different story with this triangle. But with me working for different entities and stuff like that, that's just kind of how it is. It's like, that's why I say 20%, because you just got to be mindful. Because again, I'm not living to work, I'm working to live. So therefore, yeah, like I can only go so far with it. 30% towards my personal life for sure, because and that's a significant chunk too, because yeah, I mean, like I said, I think about myself and what I'm trying to accomplish for myself. I look to keep in contact with my inner circle, my people. I look to do things that bring me joy, but also I feel like my creative life and my personal life are very closely connected, more so in this little triangle, more so than anything. They're in the same piece of cloth there for me. And it's just that there's a huge creative side of me. But it also is definitely influenced by the personal side. The creative side influences the personal side influences the creative side as well. So they both lean on each other there. But definitely, I would say 30% is definitely there. So that's just kind of how I keep myself balanced and kind of keep myself organized. And I would say though, if I don't have that 50% of creativity recognized or somehow established or just focused on for myself, then yeah, it can get bad in the sense of like me not feeling like the best version of myself, me feeling like I'm just waking up and moving around and I'm just feeling like a robot. I'm not feeling like a human. I'm not feeling like I'm able to express myself or something like that. If I don't have a time to just think about something creative, then yeah, then I'm missing something major in my life, right? So like, yeah, for sure. If 50% was allocated just towards working, man, and just like thinking about work and just working, like that's it. Like as soon as you get to work, all you do is think about that and nothing else enters your brain. And then you're working past your time and doing overnight stuff. And that's man, that's too much right there. That's where burnout comes in at for me, right? That's when burnout comes in at when that creative side is not there. That's when that, some people talk about their mental health struggles with their jobs or whatever. That's where that comes for me. And vice versa. I think that on the personal side of things, if it was on the higher end of it, just a little bit higher, it just depends on what's happening in my personal life. I think that if my personal life was surrounded by a bunch of chaos and fire, and I didn't have any loving conversations or productive conversations, then that would be very draining and exhausting too, as well. I think the best thing I can say is I learned about my balance is out of everything, my creativity has never cost me any pain or any type of frustration, right? Because even on the personal side of things, that's me interacting and dealing with the world and dealing with other people. Again, and I say I go back to the word control, but I say it's like when I understand that I'm in a situation where I'm interacting with other people and that there's just nothing. If someone's going in a different way that's opposite of me, I can't steer them in this direction. I can't steer them in that direction. That's for the professional and personal side. I can't control that. But when it comes to my creativity, I can steer it how I want to steer it. So it's not about always owning, completely controlling different things, but just understanding that, hey, like this area, personal, professional, you just can't do anything about like steering something a different way if it isn't going to go in the way that you envision, right? If you're working on something creative and just isn't working out the way you think it is, okay, you can just scrap it and start again, or maybe edit this part or rearrange that part or whatever. It doesn't work like that in personal. You're dealing with humans and other humans, and they all have their own individual triangles or dualities or whatever the things that make up them for their lives, and you have to work with them amongst that. So that's the biggest thing that I've learned about that too. Is just like how to work with people, navigate with people. And still, it's an ongoing process for me too. I don't have it all figured out by no means. It's still an ongoing process for me too when dealing with people outside of me and all this. Maybe by me breaking this down, if you haven't realized, I am an introverted personality. I do prefer my alone time and stuff like that. That's just what brings me great comfort. But obviously, I do realize that you got to get out there and interact and connect with people and stuff like that. But do you have to connect with every single person? No. Do you gotta let every single person in on every single thing? Absolutely not. But when you do, you gotta have that balance, and that's how it works for me. Because again, everyone is so unique, and I think that's what makes us humans so special, so beautiful. No matter what background you come from, what country you come from, ethnicity, etc. Man, that's what makes us all beautiful. But at the same time, that's also what makes us a little bit frustrating too, because sometimes it could just be some differences that some people aren't willing to let go or accept, and have their hard like opinions about things, and they're very headstrong and very like doubling down on this, and they're not willing to see something from another angle and whatever, so they're narrow-minded sometimes, and that can just be the most frustrating thing ever. And then when you have to maybe surround yourself with that, you get kind of drained, you get burnt out, you feel exhausted, and there's only so much of that you can take. So where do you find that to kind of like recharge when you got to deal with situations like that? Well, that's where it goes for me, creativity. I kind of take a step back and I go lock in on myself and just find that solace amongst me to use that time in silo to kind of really better myself, not to hinder myself. When I think about all this, I think about someone that I had met along the way in my line of work of live entertainment, a really dope person. And he was like, sometimes I just gotta, get in my car and just to get away from the noise, turn the music off and just get away from the noise. Because for him, music was just noise, right? And but I just need to get away from the noise so I can hear myself. That's what he was essentially saying, so I can hear myself. And I feel the same way. But for me, the music or the art and the creativity is those things that allow me to kind of get in tune with myself and to manifest and to very see things. I don't think I've ever said this clearly to anyone until now. But when it comes to creativity and art, especially music in particular, it's very vivid for me. I basically, by that I mean I can visually see things, and I may be kind of hard, and I don't know if anyone else can do this, but I'm not making this up because it sounds cool or to sound all cinematic or whatever. But it's the truth. When I listen to music and I'm really listening to music, like with my headphones on and there's no distractions, and I experience this quite often. Um, is I can visually see things, and all the manifestations, all the ideas, they visually come to life to me. They become very, I mean, not just they become very vivid, extremely vivid, as in like you can almost touch it. That's like that's how it is. It's almost like looking at it in a mirror or something like that, or looking at it on the screen. That's how it is. So for me, that's how I'm able to tap in with myself. So that's why the creativity is so important for me overall, for that balance. And you know, and that helps me when I have these type of deep dives into myself internally through the creativity. With that 50%, it allows me to jump in there with that 20% into the career profession, that 30% into the personal life, and just be the best version of myself and be like, okay, this is where it's at right now. So I owe a lot to my creativity, and that's how I keep myself balanced overall and navigate through these times. And I think for anyone else, watching this, you got to find your balance. And maybe I'm kind of curious to know what your balance may be. You can probably leave that right there in the comments if you want to. And just, you know, understand that this balancing is always going to be an ever growing, evolving thing. And maybe right now too, because yes, I'm single at this time of this recording. I don't have no children at this time of this recording. Yeah, of course, I could put 50% into my creativity because obviously, if I had a family, I would have to change up that a little bit for sure for a family because you got to be there for the family. Absolutely, you can still be creative, but you got to just adjust the ratio there a little bit for sure. But right now, because I don't have that going on for myself, and you know, hey man, that's just how the universe, God, and it's blessed me right now. It's how it is right now. I ain't complaining by no means. I'm diving all the way into my creativity, and it's just helping me overall. But again, I think I have to adjust. So that's what I'm trying to say is that Throughout time, you will have to probably adjust, throughout your process, like I will. And that's just part of the process. You grow in every different age, every different experience that you have. There's a different level of adjusting these different things to find your balance. But the concept of finding your balance is to keep yourself centered so you don't fall over either way and you just stay concentrated and focused on what you can do to become the best version of yourself. And again, that's just a theme of this entire process for me is my magnum opus, as I said before, becoming the greatest of all time. Like I said before, the best version of myself. That's what I mean when I say those things. And I'm on that journey, I'm on that quest, you know? And when I think about my parents and the things that they taught me along the way, I think that they definitely allowed me to have that balance and that expression. And the best thing that they did for me is just allow me to always explore that creativity, never stifle that creativity, never question that creativity. It was never too much of nothing to get a notepad and a notebook and just, hey, go ahead and draw. Get a coloring book, draw. All right, go ahead and you can get involved in this creative thing with music or whatever. Go ahead, you can get involved in this creative thing with reading these comic books or whatever. They never looked at it as something goofy. And because of that, I'm a reflection of all these different things in that environment. Again, so because of that, I think about what's to come for me down the line and whatever I choose to do along my way with my personal life or my professional life and my creative life. Thanks to what my parents allowed me to have and experience, that balance is always going to be there.